Welcome to this video. An ABAP program or ABAP report is one of the most important ABAP objects in the entire SAP system. Both in SAP ERP and in SAP S/4HANA, ABAP reports are indispensable. In this video, I explain what is meant by a report, how to create it, and how to execute it. Enjoy this video and let's get started. An ABAP program is an ABAP object in the SAP system, so in SAP ERP and in SAP S/4HANA. In former times, was also called a report because lists were output in printable form. The main purpose of ABAP reports was to process and output lists. Nowadays, of course, they are more diverse and interactive. They are used, for example, in transactions, in jobs, so in background jobs, and in program executions. If you would like to get to know more about jobs, I will link a video about setting up background jobs in SAP. So let's directly jump into the SAP system and show you a very important transaction for ABAP reports. So here we are right now in the ABAP editor. It is the most important transactions regarding ABAP reports or SAP programs. You can open up the ABAP editor with the transaction SE38. And in here you have different possibilities. So first of all, in here you have to type in your program. Either you can look for existing programs in the whole SAP system. You can also use the for help with this magnifying glass icon. And in here you can select what you would like to see. So for example, if you would like to see the source code, different variants, attributes, text elements, or the documentation itself. And in the toolbar there you have also a lot of functionalities. So here you can check a program, you can activate it, and you can execute it as well. You have a lot more functionalities. I think one of the most important one is the execute button, because there you can directly execute an ABAP program. If you don't have authorizations to the ABAP editor, you can also open up the SA38 transaction, because in here you are in the ABAP program execution, and in here you can't change an existing ABAP report, but in here you can execute it after typing in the name of the program and hitting the F8 key on your keyboard or click on this button. So ABAP reports are really important. So for example, if you are calling one transaction, so for example, the Miro in this case, and in here, after typing in the transaction code Miro, in the background, an ABAP report is being executed. And this can be analyzed in the SE93 transaction, because in here you can type in your transaction code. So for example, Miro, then hit on the display, and in here we can see what kind of program is being executed when you type in this transaction code in the command field. And in the bottom right area, there you can see and open up the system information, and in here you can show the currently executed transaction code. So in this case, it's SE93. If this transaction code is not shown in your case, you can click on this dark triangle, and then you can select transaction, because maybe the system, the client user program is shown in the system information, and you can change it after hitting this dark triangle and then selecting transaction. Or in our case, if you want to, you can also show the executed program. So, and for example, if we're moving again to the SE38, now I would like to show you how you can create an own ABAP report. And in this case, I would like to create a so-called Hello World report. It's one of the most easiest and most simplified ABAP programs in the whole SAP system. And keep in mind that some letters are restricted and being used by SAP itself, and you can use the Y or Z letters. So in this case, for example, if you're using this Y hello world, you are able to create this program, or on the other way around with Z hello world. If you, for example, would start this program with an A, for example, then you're not allowed to do this because just SAP itself is able to use this range of starting reports. So you have to be on your Y or Z letters starting with, or if you want to, you have a specific namespace. Normally starting with a slash, you can also start with your custom namespace. In our case, I would like to start it with Z. So it doesn't matter. So in this case, just ZZ underscore hello world. And then I click on this create button. And in here, you have to type in a title that is being shown when you execute this report. So for example, hello world in ABAP. And then on the attributes, you have to select executable program. We just ignore the other types because we just want to execute this program. So select executable program. You can leave the other settings as they are, and then you click on save. And now it's important that you have to keep in mind that we are creating ABAP objects. And normally you link an ABAP object to a specific package. If you don't have a package, then you just can click on this local object, or if you want to, you can type in $TMP. It's the same as if you would click on this local object button, or if you have one package, you can type it in and click on save. So either type in $TMP and click on save, or type in your specific package, click on save, or leave it blank and just click on local object, what do you prefer. And I'm just clicking on save. Now we are into this ABAP report. Under utilities and settings, there you can change some settings for the editor. So I prefer using the source coded based editor. If it looks a little bit different, you have the text-based editor. Under utility settings, just change it to source code based editor and then hit the enter. You have to call and execute your report once again to make the changes active. And here in this case I won't go into detail, but if you want to, you can change also on the other tabs the settings, but I prefer using source code based editor. And in here we're just simply writing a simple hello world program to show you how you can create it. So in this case you can use the write statement, and then you can with double dot and slash make a line break, and with double dot you can, if you want to, type in multiple strings. So we would like to output hello world, and in this case I'm just using hello world. And please subscribe ERP if you want to. And then it is important that you have to end every ABAP statement with a dot. So maybe in other programming languages, you're using a semicolon, or maybe a line break or whatever, but you show ABAP with a dot that you end this statement. So this is mandatory and important to use. And then we can use the save button to save it, but it is important that you are using a so-called syntax check or executable with the key combination control and F2. Because if you made any typos, if you have some errors in there, then you can just simply do a syntax check because it detects your syntax error. So for example, if I would not use the dot at the end, and use a syntax check, then the last statement is not complete, period missing with a dot. So here, just using a dot, do once again the syntax check, and then no syntax errors found in the report. Then once again, you have to make sure that your report is active, because it is inactive, just you can execute this report. But it is active, then every user in the SAP system, if he or she has the authorizations to do, can work and use your created ABAP report. This is important. So in our case, I am activating this, and then you here I have multiple inactive reports in my case, and here I just want to activate this one. If you don't have multiple inactive objects, this window won't show up, and here I continue, and now I have an active state. And now with this F8 key on your keyboard or this button, you can execute this report. And now, hello world, please subscribe. ERP up is being shown as an output. And yeah, this is how you can create a simple hello world program in ABAP. If you want to make changes afterwards, so just going 2 steps back, F3, F3, going once again into change, make some changes, or calling the ABAP editor afterwards, making changes what you like to. And this is really important to do. Please, I have not done this. You can save it if you would like to save your coding state, but if you activate it, it is automatically also saved. Now we're seeing how to create a simple Hello World program in ABAP. Now I'd like to explain you the report events that you can use in coding with ABAP. Here you have those common events in ABAP. First of all, you can use initialization. So the coding after using initialization is being used before the default selection screen is displayed. You can also use add selection screen. So after processing the user input, it is triggered, and this event is used to check the user input before executing a program. And after processing the user input, the selection screen remains in active mode. It is triggered only when editing of the selection screen is complete. So for example, when the user clicks the execute icon on the selection screen. End of selection, it is triggered after the last statement in the start of selection event has been executed. Top of page is triggered by the first write statement to display the data on a new page. It is fired to display the text at the end of a page in a report. Note that this event is the last event when creating a report and should be combined with the line count clause of the report statement. So normally with double clicking or F2 key, you can use add line selection. So when the user triggers the predefined function code pick, add user command when the user triggers a function code defined in the program. And now I would like to show you how you can use the shown and explained report events. Here I have created a simple demo program. It's the ABAP editor. And here with display, I can show you this. So for example, here you type in this event. So in this case, start of selection. And in here, you are using another event. So for example, add line selection. And then, so if you, so first of all, start of selection, this is being shown. And once you make any action, so if you clicked, then this will be shown. And I would like to show you this if you execute this. So I click on this. Now the output changes, and every time I click, the output changes once more. In the whole SAP system on different transactions, selection criteria and parameters are being used. And so, for example, here we are in the transaction FBL1N. And in here we're seeing an input field, different labels, different sections, buttons, radio buttons, lists, and so on. And we can create and use selection criteria on our own. So for example, if we open up the ABAP editor once again, here I have created one sample report to show you this. So for example, here we can use also parameters and selection criteria on our own. And here we have, so for example, if I show you the output, here we have a sample report. Keep in mind that I have not maintained the text elements. I show you in a couple of seconds how you can maintain them. But here we have a structure of different parameters and selection criteria on our own. And if you want to, you can also edit the text elements with this button text elements or the 5 key on your keyboard. And then under selection text in the edit mode, there you can change them if you want to. So for example, here, field A, I save it. Yes, I want to do this, activate this, going one step back, execute this, and now we're seeing over here field A is being used. And in here I have a really useful program that you can use to analyze the events more closely. Demo underscore selection underscore screen underscore events. And if you click on display, there you see the different events being used in here. So this is also really helpful if you would like to analyze this more closely. And in here we can also see, because in the previous report we have only seen parameters, because in here we're seeing select options, so having a range. And if we execute this, here we're seeing also select options, so having a range in an ABAP report. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Hit the like button if you liked the video. And if you have any questions regarding ABAP reports, leave your question in the comment section. And please subscribe this YouTube channel to never miss great upcoming videos about interesting facts of SAP ERP and SAP S4HANA. Thank you very much, and then see you in the next video.